and welcome to the Cancer Journey podcast. I'm Alicia.
Hi, and I'm Sherry Ann.
So let's start with our pest check in. I can go first today.
Great.
Okay, physically, I'm a 4. Emotionally, I'm a 4.3. Spiritually, a 4.15. Hope is 4.25. And my word is restless.
Okay, physically, I'm a 3.85. Emotionally, 3.95. Spirit, 4.3. Hope, 4.4. And my word is planning.
Okay. So today we're going a little bit of a lighter direction. We want to talk about cancer and joy. So typically, when one thinks of cancer, we do not automatically think of joy. We don't automatically think of any of those really expansive emotions that come along with it. And yet, it is still there and it is still available to you. And it also is such an asset when you are on a cancer journey to be able to still embrace that joy is around you and embrace when there are things that light you up.
Yes, I absolutely agree with that. But it isn't the immediate go-to. There is this whole thing about, oh, let's be positive, but that's a different energy and actually a different lens than joy. Joy is more being. It's not doing, and it's not efforting. It's not like I'm going to say toxic positivity where we're like, okay, I'm on a cancer journey and I'm going to be positive, and so that's going to make me happy. That's going to be, that place where I'm going to live in, and that's it. First off, it's not real. So that's a lot of efforting. And second of all, that's not how life works. I mean, cancer is a challenge and it is an unplanned experience, but we don't have to mm, pretend while we're on it. It's more like, okay, how do I be more real? How do I be more me through it? And in that being more me, I get to be with what is here. What is joyful? What is beautiful? What am I grateful for? Not in an effort to change my perspective, but in an effort to just be with the abundance of what's here.
Right, right. I mean, I see like when people have cancer in their lives, right? Sometimes it feels like it puts this really dark veil over everything. And it makes it feel like joy and all of those, what we consider positive emotions, can't be felt. But really, life still continues in the same beautiful, complex way that it did even before, right? You can have highs, you can have lows, you can have everything in between. And so joy is still available to be felt. And there can be some resistance too when people are, in their cancer journey and they feel as though they're not allowed to. They're not allowed to experience joy until they're out of the woods, which why stop yourself from feeling joy, really? And even just the word joy, it has this like bubbling up for me, this almost like unexpected um feeling of lightness and exuberance. And um while we all want joy, it's not necessarily something that we're like, I'm gonna experience joy today no matter what. It kind of just bubbles up. So I think that, especially with this word that we're choosing, when you're on a cancer journey, we're inviting you to embrace those moments that just bubble up and let them exist, let them expand, let them um fill you with that happiness, with that spaciousness, with that lightness that sometimes we avoid or feel like we're not allowed to have on a cancer journey. um because you can't force joy. You can put yourself into like situations, experiences where maybe you're going to experience joy, but you can't force it, and nor should you push it away. So when you're in that spiral of all of the emotions that are coming through, you don't need to judge yourself for feeling joy. You don't need to judge yourself for even staying in the darkness a little bit too. But know that as you do the work to unravel all the things that are here, all of the many myriad of emotions that come up during a cancer journey, that there shouldn't be avoidance of any of them, and that we should give them their time to be felt and be expressed and be seen truly, because only then can we release them for what comes next.
Exactly. And what we're talking about here is emotions. And joy is an emotion, just like all of the other emotions. We have the map of emotions, which is just a map. And we have all of them. And we feel all of them at one time or another. But the big thing about emotions is that there's not a hierarchy. There is not one that's better than the other. They're equal and they're neutral. They just have different resonances in our body, different energies. And so we don't like the constricting ones, right? Because they feel constricting. And we want to go to the expansive ones because, again, they feel like expanding. Joy happens to be an expansive emotion. So it's like, oh, I want to feel it versus hopelessness and despair. Oh, no, I don't want to. But just as if we're trying to push ourselves to feeling joy and only the expansive emotions, the same, it's like that climbing up the hill if you're not there, right? It's like this forcing versus, and not versus, commonly like the more constricting ones, if we try to repress it and suppress it, that takes a lot of energy because you're holding it down and you're holding it away. So it's like, why are we efforting around the emotions when they're messengers? They're here to tell us something. Joy is, wow, something wonderful is happening and it's it's lighting me up. I've got more energy. Great. Go with it. The same with aloneness or loneliness. It's like, I'm feeling lonely. What's there for me? And you go with that. So when you said judging the emotions, it's like, yeah, let's not judge them because it's way too much energy. And on a cancer journey experience, we don't have extra energy. We need all of that to be used towards healing and that special healing energy that we have within us to heal the body. And at the same time, we can work with the emotions that are here. Joy just being one of them. It's a great one. It's happy to say, it's fun to be in, and it's just one of the emotions.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think that even when you're not on a cancer journey, some people are in avoidance of joy. And they wouldn't say it. I don't think anyone wants to admit that they're in avoidance of joy. But there's this like idea of like, do I deserve it? Do I deserve to be happy in this moment? Well, I don't know, other people are experiencing this and that. Or do I get to experience joy even though like I'm going into treatment? Like, do I even deserve to have that? Um, Yes. I mean, the answer is always yes, especially to joy and the like effervescence it can like add to your existence and your current energy and your current state. Um and it often comes with a lot of connection with other people too. So, I think that joy is so important, and it's not something that we should overlook or think that is a given or think that we don't deserve it, right? Even if there are other emotions that go alongside of it, right? Like there can be like that not regret, but almost like that resistance to that joy can have a sadness or like a resentment, and they can exist at the same time. I lost my train of thought.
Well, what I'm hearing you say is permission. Like
Yes.
I have permission to feel what I feel without judgment, without have tos or I should. And what came up for me was a caregiver being there with their beloved or or friend as they're going through, as they're doing their patient role.
Mhm.
And so we come in as caregivers and we go, oh, I've got to be positive. I've got to be upbeat. I've got to, I don't want to rain on their parade. But then at the same time, there's the seriousness, like undertone. Oh, I need to kind of be quiet and respect, the space that they're in. Well, we should always respect the space that anybody's in, but we don't have to be anything but what we are. And
Hmm.
I know for me, while I was going through, particularly my treatment phase of the cancer journey, is I wanted to be treated like a normal person, like how people around me used to treat me before cancer.
Hmm.
And so when you're feeling this inauthenticity and it's like they're tiptoeing around or they're being extra careful or whatever it is, it's like, can we just feel what's here? And if you're feeling joy, please bring it. And
Yeah.
maybe that will spur mine. Or if you're being um, anything, let's have a conversation about it because we would do that before.
Hmm.
So why is this different? It's like bring all of it, and joy is always welcome. So don't hold it back.
Yeah. Oh, two things on that. I love that you pinned on caregivers because so often caregivers are like, oh, like now I'm in this caregiver space and I have to like change things about myself and who I am and how I interact because someone I care about is going through cancer. Not at all. Don't change anything. I mean, absolutely show up for them as needed. And, you can be more available to their emotions, but you don't have to relinquish your control and your power that you have in yourself just to do what you think they need. They really just need you to be authentic and real and you because that's why they chose you. That's why they need you is for the fullness that you are. Um and caregivers are so like they're so important and they often neglect themselves. Like I think caregivers don't allow themselves to feel that same joy just as you're saying because they feel like they have to live their life even as it exists with this additional responsibility and this additional responsibility becomes that same veil, right? That like darkness, doom and gloom. I have to kind of drag things along because my energy is taken elsewhere and I need to be someone else for them, whether they need to like be on the same doom and gloom kind of wavelength as their beloved who's going through it, or if they have to be extra bubbly and perky for them to try to like lift their spirits. But it's like you don't need to be either. You just need to show up who you are authentically, check in with where they are, and really be honest about your feelings for yourself and for the people around you because if you're not being honest to yourself about how you feel, you're doing a disservice to everyone around you.
And it happens. And that's okay. And what I was thinking too while you were talking is joy kind of feels silly. It kind of feels like, well, you said effervescent, so definitely. But I've got this like little Tinkerbell energy, and that's just in my head. But joy has that kind of energy to it, and it almost feels wrong, right, to bring that to a cancer environment. And it's like, but why? So why are we judging joy and even like holding it back or repressing it? It's like, wow. I mean, if you everybody wants to feel joy every day, let's just take this out of the cancer concept. It's like, yes, please.
Hmm.
And yet we make these assumptions and stories up about how you're supposed to be through a cancer journey. And there is no rule, there is no way. And so, I mean, I'm really back to the whole permission of, hey, be who you are, because that's what is needed.
Yeah.
And not doing it is overthinking.
Right. And something that we also know is that when you are in such a doom and gloom place and you don't allow yourself, give yourself permission to have this range of feelings and you're trying to like hold it all in, your energy can't go to the healing process. Literally, it's like the cortisol, the stress hormone. When there's too much of that, your body is just trying to like survive. It's not actually healing the bigger issue when we're allowing ourselves to be too stressed about things that we're like swirling in our emotions. And so when we allow ourselves to release that, even for a moment, to experience that joy, um, that happiness or that expansiveness, the gratitude, whatever it is, we start to relinquish some of that stress from our lives. Um, what came to mind for me too is the movie Patch Adams.
Mm,
And when Robin Williams is going to, I don't know if it's cancer patients necessarily, but he's going to the kids and he's entertaining them and he's giving them joy. And I think so often we think that that's only reserved for children and like a
yeah.
children's hospital. Sure, maybe in that way that he's doing it and showing up in that way is maybe just for kids, but um there's so much more that we can do for everyone, every age, to really show up for them. And so I think that in some ways that has looked a little almost like cartoonish. Maybe it looks a little bit forced, but when you really think about the experience of someone showing up just for you and wanting to bring you like delight and someone who wants to make you laugh or having something that makes you laugh or feel like even for a second you forgotten about like the heaviness that comes with any sort of diagnosis, it really lightens your spirit. It lightens your soul and it allows you to just take a break, really, from all of the like, oh, like I just feel the weight on my shoulders from carrying all of that sadness and all of that responsibility and all of the just the have tos because you're in this place. And so something we talk about at the Cancer Journey Institute is like warrioring up, especially when you're on a cancer journey. And so when you're warriored up, you have your armor on, you're like, I can take anything. You're kind of in this like fight mode. Um, when you experience joy, like some of that armor gets to fall down. You don't have to carry it. It's not, armor is heavy. You get to release some of that and just almost forget about that even for a moment. Even it can still be present, it's still there, but it means that there's room for other things as well.
I want to talk about that armor that you're mentioning. It's like, okay, so I've armored up, and it's normal for a patient to do that, for a caregiver to do that, but really anybody on a cancer journey, because it's like we've got this ribbon movement where it's like championing the warrior. That's fine. But if you're in a more constricting emotion or you have doom and gloom stories happening, it's hard to kind of let that go. So, you know what is really important here in those situations for the caregiver and the patient is talk about it. Like this safe, honest, non judgmental, not trying to fix anybody space of, can I just talk about what's going on and how I'm feeling? And that those doom and gloom stories that are going on in my head, I don't need you to pull me out, but I need to get it out of there, out of my head, so that I don't just keep replaying it again and again and again. And the same for the caregiver, because you know that they've got the worst case scenario in their mind, and they're like, I'm really afraid this could happen, and they're not saying anything.
Mhm.
So one of the pathways to let that armor down, one of the pathways to not worrying up, one of the pathways to joy and the more expansive emotions is talking about it, talking about what it feels like to be hopeless and despaired
Mhm.
or in despair. Talking about your fears, talking about your disillusions, your disappointments with your body, with yourself. It's just all of it. There's permission with somebody who you care about in a safe environment, which is a judge free environment. So when you can do that and really release it, it's almost like you shoot up to the expansive emotions and you can feel something like joy
Yeah.
without moving yourself there, without crawling or doing anything to make it happen. It's just an automatic shift.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm also just like, if you're not in a space or you don't have someone you can talk about it with, right? There's always like journaling or even like just recording yourself and talking to yourself. That one can be a little harder for people because no one really wants to watch a recording of themselves. It's harder to look back and hear your own voice than you think, but to get out the unsaid, right? Like, even if you think of the prompt as just being like, what are you too scared to say?
Mhm.
Is like a big, it's a it's a big bubble that like needs to be burst, right? And it's like kind of the same thing with the emotions that we say when they like when we're trying to push down the beach ball, the far, all of that, like they want to explode somewhere. And it can be really hard to, even when someone you love and care about who's integrated into your life says that it's a safe space to talk about things, it's absolutely a safe space for them to hear you, but they're really hearing you. And a lot of times they're taking bits of it and they can take it a little personally. They can take it as if they need to change something um, and make the assumption that they need to behave a different way for you because of what you're sharing with them. Um, but when when that beach ball is really starting to push up, maybe it hasn't exploded yet, but that pressure that builds, um, there can be like words that come out when there's so much pressure behind them, regardless of what the emotion is, right? It can be really angry, it can be fury, it can be even joy, right? When they come up, they're coming out through that filter. And so they can become like you have to like oh, oh I want to say that. Like the people who are listening are taking every word as it's coming out rather than like okay, they're saying this because they're really upset. Maybe they don't mean all of that. And sometimes the things that we won't let ourselves say are things that aren't necessarily completely true for us, right? Like if I'm really angry and be like, God, I hate my friends so much. I just wish that they would like, I'm not even gonna finish that sentence, but like, it's like that kind of thing that comes out when you're trying to suppress the pressure of that emotion, that anger, that resentment, whatever it is. And so for someone who's hearing it, who's maybe your friend or something, your family member, they kind of want to fix it. And they want to, and they'll hear that and it might like stick with them a little bit more. And so that's why it's important for us to go to a coach who we can say the wildest stuff and it's not going to be held against us in any way, or it'll be reflected back to us in the way that like a coach could be like, wow, you just said this. I feel like when that is very popular and it's very, very negative, for lack of a better term, that when someone is in a really hard spot, they'll say, I just want to die. I just don't want to be here
Mhm.
anymore, right? And to a family or friend, that is terrifying to hear. And it'll stick with them a little bit more. But when you're with a coach, you're able to say that and they'll be like, they get to be curious because our coaches are trained so well to be with those hard emotions and know that not everything that comes out is 100% true. So they'll be able to reflect it back to you and be like, hey, you said this. How true does that feel for you? Is that the voice that you really are hearing in your head right now? Because it might just be your negative ego, right? Like trying to protect you from feeling other things and wanting to take care of everyone around you and be like, things would just be easier if I ended it all, right? And that feels really heavy and hard. But with a coach, you can go there and you can pull it back. And you can be like, I'm having so much joy that I feel like I don't deserve it. And you know, whatever you want to say to your coach, they get to reflect it back to you without putting those words in their pocket and being like, this is how they feel. This is like so true for them. Because we have so much going on when our emotions are running rampant, when they're spiraling around, that sometimes we need to say the crazy things, the crazy, untrue things to really come back to ourselves and be like, okay, what's actually true now?
Yes. And what I just got from what you said was kind of like it's an emotional shower. Like I'm just cleansing myself, just imagining myself like having this safe container in this scenario. The shower is the metaphor for the coaching session, where I get to just say whatever I need to say without worrying about the impact that it's going to have on somebody else. But we know that this energy that's bubbling up inside that we're holding back because we're afraid I'm going to hurt somebody. I don't know what the impact is going to be. They're going to think I'm crazy. There's going to be judgment. Just it's not safe. in the shower, the emotional shower, you can say anything. And then it's almost like, oh, here, I didn't want to carry this. It's going down the drain. All right. Well, that's all good. And it's like cleansing.
Yeah. I love that metaphor. And actually, what it brings me to is it makes more space for you to experience joy without guilt. Guilt.
Yes. Yes. So, my takeaway for today is that we need to have permission, but also that I'm just going to use the analogy again, that emotional shower, because we're emotional beings and we're not taught how to be with our emotions. And they're there. They're not going to go away. They are what makes us human. So, well, one of the things that makes us human. So, hey, you're going to have a lot of emotions through a cancer journey, regardless of whether you're the patient or the caregiver. It doesn't matter. They're there and they're going to come rapid and strong, and we're not going to know what to do. And that's a great place to go to a coach, a trained cancer journey coach who goes, I got emotions. We can hold you, and I can hold it. So go ahead, log it over here or lob it over here, and well, you'll be fine. That's my takeaway. My pash, because I feel like I just got that cleanse. Um, physically, 0.2, emotionally, 4.4, spirit, 4.45, 4.6. And amazingly, my word is calm.
Okay.
How
Probably
about
can
you?
able to release all that. So now there's this calmness. Yeah. For me, my takeaway is that I love that analogy of an emotional shower because it's so visceral and true to what you feel after a coaching session, or even, even days after a coaching session, because you're still kind of releasing and processing everything that you just experienced. But also, my takeaway is that when we're all bundled up and swirly in our emotions, they all start to feel like hopelessness because you won't even let yourself feel the joy, right? Like, it all feels hopeless. But once we start to unravel, allow ourselves to feel the highs and the lows and have someone who can really hear us, joy becomes more available because we understand that we deserve joy more than anyone else. Like, who's going to allow you to feel joy more than you? Like, you are the only one who can allow yourself to feel that. And it takes feeling all of the emotions. You can't just pick and choose. Like, you can't be like, I'm feeling joy and nothing else. Like, we have to experience all of them. Um, and a safe space is so necessary to just say all of the things that you won't let yourself say to anyone who's like in your close inner circle. And my pash physically, I am a 4. Emotionally, I'm a 4.4. Spiritually, a 4.2. And hope is a 4.25. And my word is swirly. Well, thank you for joining us. We'll be back next week with a new episode.
And have a lovely rest of your day, remembering that you are more powerful than you realize. Bye for now.